Hello. Today I'm with Willow, who is a fellow wellness practitioner with a holistic philosophy, and we're going to talk about our struggles with mental health, how we overcame them, and our holistic approaches to maximizing the experience that we're having in this lifetime based on what we've discovered so far through our life path. How does that sound, Willow? Does that
That
resonate?
sounds that sounds wonderful, Anthony. Thank you so much. I'm excited to have this conversation with you.
Amazing. Thank you so much for being here, and thank you for sharing this time, space, and energy with me and for our listeners. So, I want to ask you a little bit to tell me about your background, like the struggles you faced and where have those struggles led you to?
That's a big question. Um, but given our intention for this conversation, the struggles that I faced were being put on pharmaceuticals at 15 and being told that I am ADHD and bipolar and given these labels and these behavior patterns, and then um, drugged for them versus given tools to get me through them. And that path led me to addiction because that's what that whole experience teaches you, to look outside of yourself, to fix an internal sensation or experience. And that led me to just being very lost. And at one point, I tried to commit suicide. And from there, I found my way back. And that was almost 20 years ago. And since then, I've been studying the body, behavior patterns, aging patterns, dying patterns, disease patterns, and how to reverse them as I figured out that I was completely disconnected and disassociated from my body and had to figure out how to find my way back in.
Wow, that's a powerful summary. Thank you for sharing that. And I do resonate with the ADHD, bipolar, the medication history, and the status quo of the mental health care system at the moment, which can be pretty disempowering in terms of looking for external solutions. So you've come to a much better place. How long, like, what does the timeline look like for you in your history?
From the time I tried to commit suicide till now is 19 and a half years. And so it's taking me as long to get reconnected to my body and to get back in as it took me to get out.
Yeah, interesting. And have from a medication standpoint, so you mentioned you were already being diagnosed and put on pharmaceuticals from the age of 15. Then kind of what happened? What was that path like from a timeline perspective?
I ended up on a cocktail of about four pharmaceuticals at my maximum time, which were for bipolar, ADHD, um, and then let's see, Adderall for the bipolar or for the ADHD supposedly, and then Xanax. I was on two maximum strength Adderall extended release a day and four 1 milligram pills of Klonopin a day. So I got 120 milligrams of Klonopin a month and 60 Adderall. On top of that, I was taking I think Depakote and I don't remember the last one, but I was on, so like my whole body was up, down, up, down, up, down. And there was no I self-regulation or attachment or consciousness was just not even an option. And I got off the bipolar meds at 34. I threw those. The suicide attempt was at 30, age 30, and then at 34, something inside of me snapped, and that was also 2012. and I knew I needed to let go of the bipolar meds. And so I got off those and stayed on the Adderall. And that was until I was 39. And then that was when I actually got invited to try ayahuasca. And I had to be off all of those meds for at least 1 month before working with the medicine. And so I had to get off of those. So at 39, so from 15 to 39, I was on pharmaceuticals. Then I did ayahuasca and completely cleared my system. And then I had, then it's funny because then it's that spot is kind of like when we choose to get sober. Because at that time I was 10 years sober as well. I had stopped drinking. And we think that is, we made it and we're there. We don't realize that now we have to rebirth. We have to relearn everything. And so at 40, I did not realize how incredibly raw and vulnerable I was. So even after being off the meds for 10 years, no, it wasn't 10 years, excuse me. It took me about 10 years off the meds to really realize the full effect that they had on me, and I'm still discovering it. So there's no end to the discovery. That's the illusion that there's an end to the discovery.
Yeah, thank you for sharing that. And it's really reassuring to me because it's only been 100 and something days since I've quit my antipsychotics, and I have a lot less length of a history than compared to you do, which is exactly why I think this conversation is valuable. There's a lot more looking back in time and learning from the wisdom that's been accumulated that I'm only just starting to accumulate. And of course, our medication, pharmaceutical profiles were different, our life stories, our traumas, all of this were different, but there's a lot of synergy there. I definitely want to come back to the ayahuasca experiences and what that brought for you. But before that, I'm curious to know what did those lessons and learnings from quitting medications naturally, I suppose, because you've gone through a process where you've either learned things or healed things and developed new tools and strategies in order to compensate for whatever those meds were bringing, or in some way um, helping yourself navigate life without medication. Like what did that look like? What were those tools? What were those life experiences that you've had?
This is another loaded question, so I'm going to go in timelines. After I got out, and these are great questions, thank you. After I got out of, after the suicide, I went to rehab. And after rehab, 25 days later, I wanted to be connected to my body and I needed to learn. I didn't realize how disconnected and disassociated I was, but I knew I needed to figure out the body. And so I went to school for occupational science, and I worked with Parkinson's and mobility, and I owned a gym and worked in that physical world and got to know the body inside and out to understand that aspect of it. So that was educating myself and understanding our body and how it works was really important. And then from there, that was after the suicide, before I actually fully got clean. Because even when I was in rehab, I still drank after that. I was convinced that I was there for other reasons, because we can convince ourselves of anything. And so then the next step I was guided to was to then learn the energy of it. So once I then got sober, I worked in the physical aspect of it, learning the body and the anatomy for about 10 years to really understand that. Then when I did the ayahuasca and needed to kind of rebirth and re-understand and learn a new way, that's when I did my shamanic apprenticeship with Susan Weed and went and lived with a medicine woman, an herbalist, a shamanic witch, and really opened my mind and my heart to a new way. And she taught me how to die, how to rebirth, how to live, how to love, how to be in relation with the world rather than in opposition or I'm not sure the word, but she taught me coherency. And even though I was taught, it still took time to integrate it. And that was the hardest part over the last 2 decades is conceptually, I could get it. I could see it. I could feel it. I understood it. But my nervous system and my body couldn't do it. I wasn't connected. I couldn't figure out how to make my body do what I wanted it to do or how to make my body slow down because I was so stuck. My nervous system was still stuck in fear, fight, flight, fawn. And I would freeze and get paralyzed and then start crying. And it was a trauma response because as I was connecting to my body, it would unlock the trauma. And then whatever I didn't process and suppressed, now I'm experiencing, my nervous system is experiencing it because it wasn't allowed to. So I'm this now woman in my 40s going through a trauma response and having the memories of something that happened when I was a kid or when I was drunk. Like I was a blackout drunk. So I'm unlocking stuff and I'm like, oh my gosh. And so I'm seeing the things that I was too scared to see at that time or too unconscious to see at that time. And so it would be like it happening right now. It could happen right now with you and I. A trigger could happen. I'm having this visual, this sensation, this emotional response that I can't explain. And that when in the presence of people that are not aware that we're all having our own experience and that don't understand that that's a trauma response and an uncontrollable reaction that then needs to be expressed and then I need the space to just then breathe and self-regulate and figure and let it go. And so it took me a while to even figure out what was happening to me when that would happen because I would have a panic attack because I didn't understand. So it was a lot of trial and error and really self-reflection and fear. Like I really had to sit with the fear and understand what was happening until I could figure it out. And it really is an internal journey that what I learned most is breath and pause are our best friends.
Wow, that's powerful. Powerful, powerful. So kind of to summarize and let me know if I got any of this wrong. I was trying to take a few notes. Over that journey of quitting medication, there was a phase around education about the body, more the physiology, the kind of maybe mental, and the gym ownership and connecting more to that, but still dealing with the alcoholism and some coping mechanisms showing up as addictions. So deciding to get clean and working on that, and then moving into the more kind of energetic and spiritual healing side, which is where the ayahuasca came in, and then the journey with the shamanic apprenticeship and learning how to reconnect more with the body using these different perspectives and learnings and being able to use all of these perspectives as a way to heal whatever wounds were stuck in the system or express whatever emotions needed to be expressed from long ago that came up in triggering situations. Is that right?
Wow, you are fabulous. Yes. The only thing
Thank
that I
you.
would add to that, and
Yeah.
it's because I left it out, is that when we breathe and express with the emotions and the sounds like that, that's so important because if we start talking about what's coming up, we get stuck in the story and the narrative, and no one's going to understand anyway because we don't even barely understand what's happening. It's just our processing. So it took me a long time to understand when I'm processing, what I want to scream and when I want to say, and I'm stuck in victim rage anger mode, to instead put words to it, put sound to it, and then it goes away.
Fantastic. And yeah, that is just not just another, but it is yet another tool that we have at our availability that people don't really know about. And yeah, there's an underlying theme in all of this, which is all around reconnecting with the body, understanding the body, reconnecting with the signals of the body and our intuition and our emotions and our energetics. And I feel like this message cannot be stated enough, particularly in the 21st century, where we've been conditioned by not just decades, but centuries of industrialization and getting more and more into the head and into the mind and thinking school and mental intelligence and working all of these things, but not so much valuing the body. Um, I'm curious to know if there was also other modalities that were more classic, like talk therapy or this kind of thing that you were doing in parallel, or was it all just the things that you mentioned so far?
Oh, yeah, that's a good question. Yoga. I am certified in Kundalini, as well as trauma informed and pain resilience, because a lot of that, again, just like the personal training and the occupational science, I'm trying to figure out how to deal with my own pain. So most of these certifications or the things I learned were because I was trying to figure out how to get through my own body. So Kundalini and all yoga, exercise in general is important. And NLP. I have been working with my NLP coach and him in his mastermind, and have been working with him for 5 years now. And so that keeps me in integrity with my words and my actions. I don't know if you're familiar with NLP. And then my death doula mentor, Diana. Oh my gosh. Like that community, helping work through the emotion and the death process and the ending and face the fears. I have learned so much from witnessing her and the way that the way she holds space, and her compassion, her grace. Like a lot of the other work I do is exposing myself to really uncomfortable situations and traveling, because the more uncomfortable I am, the more I learn about my behavior patterns. And then I get to witness new models of behavior from being in such a weird place. And some of them I'm like, yay. And some of them I'm like, so yeah, it's a learning experience, but learning to be very comfortable being uncomfortable.
Comfortable being uncomfortable is the recipe for growth, I think is one of the themes.
Yeah.
Yeah, yeah, that's wonderful. And I love this approach of including death as a part of this transformation for growth. So I wanna touch on some big subjects, and I welcome co-creation on your part for guiding where this goes. But I wanna link together the subjects of ayahuasca, of spirituality, and of death and how it relates to the big existential questions. So I just want to take a second to say, for anyone who isn't familiar with ayahuasca, it's indigenous plant medicine that is also a psychedelic. It's used in a medicinal way by tribes, indigenous tribes, typically in the Amazon, as far as I know, and and it's a deep inner work modality that feel free to add more onto this. But yeah, there's a lot of connection between this world of psychedelics, which I've explored a lot personally, not through ayahuasca, but through other sources like LSD and mushrooms. So I have been in those altered states, and I have to thank them in many ways for a lot of the ways that I think today, and a lot of the work that I've done on myself without knowing at the time that it was something that would lead to inner growth. So this whole thing between psychedelics, spirituality, uh, the spiritual, energetic side to healing, and those big existential questions like death and making sense of who we are, what we are, where we come from, and where we're going.
Thank you. That's a big one too. So I'm going to start with anyone watching this who is not familiar or who may be familiar with what Anthony was talking about, these psychedelics, to please understand that we are not promoting this. We are not suggesting this. And honestly, I would say, unless you feel really called to do it, don't do it. It's not a joke. It's not a game. I did not realize the depth of what was happening when I started working with the medicine. And I have worked with multiple medicines and seen a lot of things. A lot of the things that I've seen, I cannot put into words, and it would not do justice to give them words. And I'm not sure that I would believe it if I didn't actually experience it. And even after experiencing it, I'm not sure if it really happened or if I'm crazy sometimes. So I really want that to be clear, that these medicines are not a game. When I chose to do the medicine, it was because I was already suicidal and I didn't want to live. So it's really important when we're going to choose this stuff to understand the state of mind that we're in when we're doing it. Because there's a lot of people, there's a lot of hype about the medicine right now. However, when someone is suicidal and wants to die and they do medicine, of course, there's nowhere to go but up, and we're unlocked and opened and feel something, but we still don't have the tools, the wisdom, or the experience to create that bliss within ourselves. It's still giving away our power and inviting an external source in to be our source and spark our source. And so the intention behind why one is choosing to merge with this energy and invite this energy into our body and into our world, the intention has to be very, very clear. And understanding the full perspective of the medicine is really important. Understanding this is done in indigenous places. It's not meant for Western worlds. And so it's the medicine is working with the people that are on the land there. And there's a whole culture, there's a whole way, and it takes time for the body to merge with all of that. And so choosing who one does the medicine with too, because again, we're giving our power away and asking for a guide, a human or a voice, and we're all human, so none of us are perfect, to guide us through an unknown experience with a spirit or an energy that we're inviting in. And so it's not just about going and doing some medicine and having some clarity. It's an experience, and it is a death, because the death of everything that you know is happening. And so it is a death. And then your nervous system is going to go through that death, and then it's going to have to be rebirthed. And if that is not made clear, and someone is not completely prepared, understanding what is going to happen to their nervous system, what is going to happen to their energy, what is going to happen to their relationships, because what we're doing is breaking the mold and opening ourselves up to be reprogrammed. We hold knowledge in all of our cellular memory. So we're inviting it in to unlock all of our cellular memory. And so if the person, the guide, doesn't have our best interest at heart and your intention, and isn't all about protecting your space, then we're opening ourselves up to whoever to now be in control of us, because we're reliant on this external medicine. And so while it was a healing aspect for me, it still reminded me of the medical world because I'm giving my power away and going to someone else asking for medicine. And so the medicine and I had a conversation and we've really worked with it, and it taught me how to find it within. It's not about an external source, and to how to have that conversation with the actual medicine. So what I learned most from my time with Susan and my own death and rebirth, and her teaching me to make love or be in relation with everything, and then teaching me to connect with plants, then the invitation when working with the plant medicine is to make love to it, create it, be in relation with We're not using it, we're in relation. I think of it like if I were in love or interested in a man. You want to have a conversation. You want to learn about them. It's about curiosity. It's about give and take. And so we're inviting that spirit into my body. In my mind, I'm making love to it. So that's not something to share with the world to brag about the experience. It's sacred. It's intimate. It's sexual. It's sensual. It's everything. And so I think there's a huge misunderstanding about the medicine and thinking that it's something other than the most sacred healing experience that one could have to connect so deeply to themselves.
Mm, yeah, that's powerful. Um, so many thoughts about that, but I'll share the top few. Number one, thank you so much for the health and safety disclaimer reminder. I can't believe I didn't think of that in that moment. I was in the flow. But yes, top priority, and we're definitely not recommending it in any way. Um, Number two, what you said about relationship with the medicine is a very beautiful view, because to me it also has parallels with human relationships. We see people getting into relationships out of toxic codependent reasons versus out of genuine and like desire for mutual growth and healing reasons. And whether it's a substance or whether it's a behavior, I've grown to learn and take this view more and more that everything can be good or bad depending on the intention that we go with it, and also the frequency or the depth at which we use it. Um, and I think that's the same with whether we talk about medicine like ayahuasca or whether we talk about natural other solutions and reconnecting to ourselves. And that brings me to the point that really the reason that psychedelics sparked my interest in general is because they took me into a place where spirituality and reconnecting to something that was greater than myself was the medicine. And actually, I I used to take them a lot in a somewhat addicted way. Although I wasn't addicted, I didn't like feel a physiological craving. I was very much seeking them as a some kind of crutch, and I've gotten to a point now where I don't feel that need at all. Like I've had the experiences that I've had with them, and now they've led me to I actually want to go deeper into the spiritual path, whether that's a Hindu path, whether that's a Buddhism path, whether that's connecting to God or just making a deeper spiritual practice. So, can you tell me more about what your experience with spirituality or the energetic side as far as a tool or healing modality for mental struggles and all of the things that you've experienced in your life? Is there an overlap? Was it intentional? Was it accidental? How did it play out and look like?
It was intentional. I had to learn what love was. When I learned that when we are in relation and make love to everything, then the world makes love back to us. The problem was I had a false sense of love and did not understand what that meant. So my journey has been very much about trying to figure out what love is and what that means to me. And what I can say is, I think about the medicine, since the medicine is teaching us, you connect through it to the breath. And this is what the Kundalini in the body has taught me too. We connect through the breath, and the breath is what is our communication system in the body. And so the medicine taught me how to have those conversations with my own body and learn, because she was inside of me. And so I think about it like I'm making love, and I'm inviting the spirit into my body just like I would a lover. And I have these conversations and I find it within myself. Does that feel good? Does that not feel good? Is this a yes? Is this a no? What is my body telling me? What is it teaching me? And I just follow it through. And while a lot of times it's blissful, the challenge has been when I'm reconnecting, because we've got our meridians and we've got our energy lines. And so when one is waking up, and those trauma responses that I was telling you about, it feels like when your hand falls asleep, and then it's like you can see it, but you can't feel it or experience it, and then you realize it, and you've got the sensation coming back in those pins and needles, and then sometimes it hurts. And if you didn't know what was happening, it would be terrifying that you can't feel your hand. But since we all know what it's like to have pins and needles and something fall asleep, so that's what would happen in my entire body. My entire body, one of those would unlock, and it just felt like I had fire going through my veins, and the pain was so excruciating. Sometimes I couldn't even function. Like, it was debilitating. And it was like if you take a rubber glove and it sits out in the sun, and then you take a straw and try to blow it up. That's what it felt like in my body. It was like this wretched, dried out prune that was trying to get life back in it, because I had squeezed all the light, all of the love, all of the energy out of my body with so much rage and anger. So my entire body was asleep when I was disassociated and disconnected to it. And my shoulders were calcified. Like, when I went for my training, my shoulders were like this, and they would tell me to relax, and I thought they were relaxed. Like, I couldn't even comprehend how locked my nervous system was. And so as that energy expands and I unlock, the breath and addiction to pain, it was almost like I had to become addicted to the pain, because I cried for 4 years straight. All I experienced for about 4 years was straight up pain. And I had to figure out how to fall in love with pain and make love to pain and make that my best friend, because whatever energy we are putting around that is what expands. So if I focused on the pain and I gave into it being the story of pain and that sensation, then I'm recreating, and that's what I'm rebirthing as, is more pain. And so I had to, in that moment, learn how to breathe, learn how to stop, learn how to pause, and be so present with the pain, and figure out how to turn that into orgasmic energy, because I wanted to feel orgasmic energy, not pain. And then I realized that I was going to two extremes, and then I had to then figure out how to calm that energy, because the sensation was so intense. So a lot of it was learning what the hell my body's telling me, and then understanding that that's the story I'm putting that to that sensation. And through the NLP and Jason and Perception Academy, I've been able to change that story around the energy, and that changes the experience. But it takes time for the nervous system to realize, oh, wait, that's not pain anymore. I changed that story. Because then that's when we have the discipline to, every time it comes up, change the habit loop and start actually creating the new story. Otherwise, yeah. And so that's where the environment comes in. So as we're rebirthing, as we're reprogramming, as we're becoming, if we're in the exact same environment that created the last version of us, and we don't get outside of our comfort zone and try on new behavior patterns, then all we're going to do is keep being the same that we were. But every single day, we just make one new choice and keep going. Is this making sense?
Absolutely. Yeah. Yeah. It's yet another theme beyond reconnecting with the body that belief has such a strong influence over our outcomes. And we can't control the beliefs that get programmed in us as children. But if we're dealing with symptoms as adults, it's our responsibility to look within ourselves and understand what stories we are telling ourselves, how they connect to different triggers and all these other sorts of things. People know a lot about the placebo effect, but they don't really hear the term nocebo so much, which is like the evil twin of the placebo, basically just the flip side. And there's a lot of science behind both that actually just shows how much our beliefs influence our biology. And this is one of the big points that I want to emphasize in mental wellness education because I see what my experience was like in the medical system, and I can't imagine what yours was like long before mine. But for me, nobody asked me about my life. Nobody asked me how my relationship's doing, what was going on with work. Did I feel connected to a sense of purpose? They didn't ask me if I knew anything about trauma, nor did they tell me that it could be one of the causes. They just saw a symptom, a behavior, my crazy thoughts. They matched it on a table that said, this looks like bipolar, we need this pill, and gave me those pills that numbed me down. Um, and so the point is, going through that experience, I didn't know it at the time, but I was pretty disempowered as a patient, being the expert on my own life. Whereas these psychiatrists, they've known me for a few hours, the time I've been in hospital. They don't know they don't know what has happened for 24 plus years before that. So how can they make an informed scientific decision about what my case is or not? How can it be that, how can you know whether it's actually the brain circuit wiring, which is this way, versus it's just the combination of life circumstances and a lack of education and a lack of positive beliefs and all of these factors that play into the picture. I'm just curious. I've shared a lot around that. I'm curious if there's anything that resonates or anything you'd like to add to that.
It all resonates with me. I went through like that's a lot of where my rage and anger came from, is realizing uh how powerless I actually was when I thought that I was empowered. And I mean, to take it to another level, I'm looking back thinking how many times I laid on a table and had a man tell me about my vagina. Think about that, when women are going to men that are telling us about our private parts and our personal parts, yet they have never experienced one. Yet they're
Yeah.
experimenting on something they have zero experience with other than externally.
Yeah,
So yeah,
absolutely.
I can relate to everything you're saying on
That
multiple levels. And then being in the psych ward. The beautiful thing though, that we have a gift. We have an incredible gift that many people don't, Anthony. I know what it's the first time I was taken to the hospital for was suicidal was 15. I was Baker acted when I was 21 and in there for 3 days and then tried to commit suicide. So I have a perspective that very few people actually live to have and be able to laugh about. And you, from being in the hospital world, have a perspective too, because that's what allows you to experience compassion and connection and empathy, and to have the full spectrum of feelings that a lot of people cannot resonate with or comprehend, because you actually had the experience. And this is the huge aha moment that most of us are waking up and realizing is the only possible way to truly understand is to have the experience. This is experiential, and you're having the full spectrum experience, which offers you an like a bigger range of sensation, a bigger range of possibility, a bigger range of choices, because your spectrum is you went into the darkness far enough that you get to now go equal and opposite into the light. And so you're really challenging yourself to do some really hard work and see some really difficult perspectives. And then your core and your love and your connection was strong enough that you are finding your path out and doing what you came here to do. And you're in alignment with your purpose, which is, this is it. It's how do we find our own way out?
Yeah, beautiful. Thank you for sharing that. It's a wonderful reframe to be able to see things that way. I certainly I couldn't be grateful 7.5 years ago when I was depressed and I could hardly get out of bed, impossible to take a shower some days, let alone take a walk outside. At that moment, I had zero gratitude. So I just want to emphasize and honor and respect that, if you're in a struggle and you're like finding it hard to see positivity, just give yourself time. Like there's no, like it's not rewiring the nervous system and like reconnecting with your body and finding yourself in a better place is something that takes time and work and persistence, and it's not easy, and there is no template. There's no template. Everybody is unique and all of that. So I wanna really emphasize and honor that. And I wanna ask, what does it look like from your perspective and wisdom if someone is disconnected from their body to whatever degree? It could be fully disconnected, it could be little bit disconnected, but what does that look like from a tangible perspective, from a like waking up in daily life and living life perspective?
I guess I'm not sure how to answer that. I need clarity on what you're asking. Like, are you asking me what it looks like? Like, how did I function during those days?
I guess in your experience, whether that's working with people on reconnecting with their body or just your own personal journey of reconnecting with your body, what did being disconnected from your body as a concept look like or manifest itself in terms of tangible symptoms? Like, did you find it hard to wake up from bed? Did you find emotional control was difficult? Were you
Okay,
just
now
numb? This
I
kind
think
of
I
perspective.
okay. I Well, I didn't know. That's the problem. That's usually it showed up as arrogance. It showed up as rage. It showed up as false sense of confidence, which I guess would be the arrogance, because I didn't realize how off I was. And so I couldn't comprehend what anyone was saying. And so, how I would say it would show up was in a space of desperately wanting to connect with people, but yet feeling like you're the most hated person on earth and just ostracized, because there's this desperation to want to connect. And I couldn't figure out why, because I didn't know I was disassociated. Like, it looks like not having a clue why you're there and being so angry or so just in la la land and fantasy land that one doesn't even understand they're not present. That's the non woke, I guess. And that's the scary part. Like, I didn't know I wasn't connected. I had no idea.
Yeah, it's just part of those blind spots, isn't it? Of not knowing what we don't know. Um, would you say you've reconnected fully, or are you still on the journey? Not that the journey ever ends until some arbitrary points, but
Right.
like, What do things look like now, let's say? Maybe a better question.
Now I have learned, well, I had breast implants for 16 years. After I tried to commit suicide and got out of rehab, I got breast implants because I wanted to feel good in my body. So clearly not the right state of mind to be making a decision like that. And I had those for 16 years and I just got those out. That was part of my trauma and my rage as I was connecting to my body and my heart would be, and I would start feeling the sensations in my body. The reverb or whatever was happening in my chest hurt so bad. It felt like I had jumper cables connected to my nipples and my body was just tweaking out of control, like trying to manage that much pain. And I didn't realize that the only way I understood life was with all that pain. Like I didn't know life without it because I was never connected to my body. So I never comprehended it and I never managed emotion, sensation. And I was put on pharmaceuticals at 15 when I was emotional. I never was taught emotion. So it felt like I was frozen. And when I'm thawing out, now I'm having all these, I went through puberty in so much pain that I didn't even know what was happening. And so it was like a double whammy of confusion in the learning curve. I also, at one point, got Botox and realized once I stopped, I think it took 3 years to get out of my system because our third eye is right here. And so I saw how the Botox and the breast implants trapped me in an illusion and robbed my resources and even further disconnected me from my body, because then you're so focused on the youth and focused on here that we're disconnected and disassociated from there. And so since I was already disassociated, I didn't even realize how many parts of my body weren't there. I think it took me 10 years to actually feel my asshole and actually know it was my asshole and then feel my right like glute medial and be able to function and be able to isolate it and to be able to then contract it and to like the parts of and there's still parts of my body that I can feel the blocks, I can feel the stiffness and then have to breathe into. I mean, I've got a yoga swing that I've been working with for 5 years, and I've been doing yoga and breath work daily for a decade now. And there's still parts that I'm not connected to and that I'm still breaking open. So, I mean, it's a journey, it's a long journey, and it's just something we have to find peace with. And then figuring out how to change the mindset. A lot of the other thing that I got to turn that back on. Sorry. There's a lot of mindset stuff that I had to do too. Why is that? Okay. Want me to stop there or keep going?
You can keep going if you, yeah, have more on that thread.
Well, when we're unlocking all of this stuff and I was having all these emotions and all this stuff was coming out, then we have to be conscious of what we're putting back in. What are we listening to? I had to like new music, new stuff. One of the things that I listened to over and over were Mind Vitamin Community. Jesse Elder, he makes all of these videos that really well, I would just say if you're looking for new stuff, Abraham Hicks, different things, opening my mind to different concepts. So as I'm doing the breath work, as I'm connecting to the body, when I was in the most amount of pain, I would breathe and I would fill my awareness and my psychic space with words. I would listen to books on video or books on audio that are helping me, but I would be very conscious of what I'm hearing in that moment, because what we're hearing in that moment is reprogramming that space. So I had to be very intentional that when I'm in that much pain, that I then have to make sure that whatever's coming into my mind is building it up, filling me up, and is the voice that I need.
Beautiful. Yeah, thank you for sharing. I want to circle back to 2 points that you made. One is around connecting with different body parts. And I think this is so huge because nobody knows what the standard or the ideal amount of connection with our body that we should be. experiencing. It's not like we are raised with a learning curve intentional about, can you feel this muscle? Can you feel this organ? And that could be a starting point for people to start investigating, am I disconnected from my body? And is this maybe some of the causes behind my problems? And the second thing was around awareness and reprogramming thoughts. And I think this is among many, many, many different modalities, but one of the timeless ones that's been around that's connected with the spiritual world is meditation. And it's about really cultivating that skill of being able to watch your thoughts, not just because um, what you've put into your body, as you said, is what you listen to, what you consume, and how your body reacts to it. Like, is it positive? Is it negative? If you're able to observe that as it goes, it gives you clues as to where you can improve. And if you cultivate that on a daily basis, that's essentially free way to improve yourself and help with your symptoms or help with your journey in some kind of way. So yeah, beautiful. I really want to thank you for sharing that.
Yes, and just to add on to what you say about the mental and the reprogramming, when you're listening to the new stuff, remember what triggers us is unlocking a pain spot. And so be grateful for triggers instead of angry and reactive. Be like, oh my gosh, this is a trigger, and thank the person that unlocked it, because their intention isn't to hurt you any more than it is yours is to hurt them. It's a resonance, and so be grateful and then be like, okay, now how do I upgrade this?
Absolutely, yeah. And that's where the mindset piece comes in. We same trigger, different mindset. One is
Mm-hmm.
resentful, one is grateful. One stays stuck in the cycle, one actually learns something new and finds an area to grow. And it's a small difference on a small trigger level. But when you take every small trigger opportunity every single day and compound that for a long time, that difference adds up to a big, big effect.
Well
So
said.
thank you. I'm a big fan of teaching compound effects and mindset and belief stuff. It's such an underlooked part of health and wellness. People always think diet, exercise, maybe other stuff too, supplements as an easy way because it's very minimal effort. But I find the deepest progress we can make are actually with those parts that are most hidden. I'm actually really grateful for having experienced two manic psychotic episodes, because the first one I didn't really believe that this was anything to worry about. So I didn't learn the lessons I needed to learn from it. At the second one, I had to slow way down. I had to go deep into spirituality. And eventually it led me to um, quitting my addictions, becoming more clean, leading a healthier lifestyle, discovering flow states, and then discovering trauma. And that's where I found the big, big thing that I was like, wow, well, this is a big part of why I actually experienced issues in the first place. But I couldn't have gotten to that point if it wasn't for the journey leading up to it. So, as we head towards a close, I just want to ask, what are you getting up to now in life? What does life look like these days compared to before? And what are you bringing to the world right now? And how does that connect with this whole mental wellness topic and making the best out of the life experience that we have?
Thank you for asking that. I'm embracing loving being an advocate for death. I really had to figure out what this whole journey has been about, and it's taken me a long time, but I've come to the conclusion I am an advocate for death. And what I do is teach people about the death process, and then do consultations to plan one's death. And I think that the sooner we plan our death, the more we maximize life, because when it comes to death, we're going to face everything that you're fearing and everything that you think that you're going to carry till death. We expose all of that so we can give death to it now, and then plan the rebirth. Plan how do you want to fill that space now, or whatever. What do you want to create? But I do consultations on planning death and what that would look like to help people really maximize their ability to live right now, because all that matters is now. Time is our most precious commodity.
Beautiful. And having done this work, like what do you feel, or what do you fear rather about the future, if anything? Are you like ready and embracing death if and whenever it happens? But how do you manage that?
I've already died. I was dead. I mean, when I was trying to commit suicide and the way that I was living, I was dead. We're not alive until we've faced all our fears. Because as long as we're fearing death, we're not living. We cannot be in a space of fear and love at the same time. It's impossible. So unless we face every single thing we fear, we're not fully maximizing our current experience, period.
Wow, that's a powerful message. I have two more things that I want to ask. One is whether you believe or not that anyone can heal from anything, given magic wands level of support, like infinite money, all the time to do the work, etc. Just from a theoretical standpoint, do you believe that anyone can heal from anything?
I believe that if we have not cut or uh, done something to the body, then things can be corrected. If we've had surgery or had any um, scarring and stuff like that, no, I don't believe we can heal scar tissue. I believe we can break it up. I don't believe, though, that once someone has something removed, I'm not sure, I don't believe that we can grow it back at this time naturally. Um, but I believe that if we have a connection and awareness to our body, there are a lot of things that can be reversed. And I'm not sure how far that goes. I really don't know. All I have is my own experience and knowing that I was told I had spinal stenosis. I was told a lot of things, and my body is completely different. Like but it's taken me 10 years to get here. I've unlocked all of the diagnoses that I've offered and reversed all of that. And I feel more alive, healthier, and energetic than I have. And I've experienced that with other people. And so I don't know. I just believe that where there's a
Yeah.
will, there's a way, and when there's a commitment. But once there's a cut, I mean, I've seen cancer. I've worked with people whose cancer has shifted. It depends on how powerful people's beliefs are and if they've done something that can't be reversed externally or scarish.
Yeah, I think there's always scope for exceptions to exceptions, and even however deep that we can go. But it seems like there's quite a lot of range for the amazing things that the body and mind can do, particularly on a nervous system, emotional and spiritual level kind of work. And that's also where reconnecting with the body is a helpful pathway to doing that work.
It's a commitment. It's a commitment. It's going to take pain. It's going to take tears. It's going to take support. It's going to take grit. So it's not, there's a lot of airy fairy, it's light and love. And yeah, it is, but not, but it's equally an opposite: pain, fear, like what the heck is happening? Because I mean, so just be prepared if you take this journey, that there's some weird stuff. Like, I'm sure you've experienced it, right? Where like you're just like, what is that sensation? And like, what is that? And then it's like, whoa. And then it's so funny you can't stop laughing because you can't believe that. I think you know what I'm saying. But yeah, so
Yeah,
so yeah, we just have to warn people. It's a commitment, it's a path, it's a new lifestyle because it's a lifestyle for a while as we learn how to. We're reconditioning ourselves to just keep moving through.
absolutely. Yeah. I mean, I've had a lot of weird experiences, particularly in the mental and maybe spiritual domains. But I think that reconnecting to the body is actually one of the um, commitments of work that I am on the path of. So I don't yet know what fully reconnecting to my body looks like. I'll have some updates in a few years. But one last question before wrapping this up. What what message would you want, key takeaway for the listeners who've watched this all the way to the end? What do you want to leave them with as a result of all your wisdom and experiences? Or yeah, totally open for whatever you want to share.
Connect to yourself first. Remember that you are worth it. You are powerful. You are amazing and you are the source. No matter what, trust your body. Get to know your body. And if something doesn't feel right, speak up. Use your voice.
You are the experts on your own life, and you are the only one who can be that expert. So, yeah, reconnect to that empowerment really and cultivate that self-belief because yeah, it's really a source.
Well, and we can't actually help someone else if we're not connected. Like
Mm,
we can speculate, but until we've had the experience, we don't know what we don't know until we know. And life is very experiential.
absolutely. Beautiful. Well, Willow, thank you so much. If there's anyone that wants to connect with Willow, all the links will be in the description or comments or around this video. And yeah, thank you so much for your time, space, and energy for this conversation.
Ew.
I really appreciate it. And I hope it's gonna help change some lives, inspire and motivate, and create a positive impact in the world.
Thank you so much for the opportunity. It's been such a pleasure talking with you.
Likewise. Thank you so much. Take
Thank
great
you.
care.